Hey, welcome back. Round 3 of Moxing Day Highlander. Hope you're all having a good time out there. Pairings just went up for round 3. Last round we saw... what did we see? Rug combo beat rug not combo.
That's basically right. That's right.
And who knows what we'll see this round. 2 rounds in, 29 players, so 5 rounds of Swiss before we cut to the top 8. Uh, Angus, without any idea of the field, what do you think's going to win today?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and put some money on red black aggro.
Red, black,
Actually,
aggro. All right. All right.
it seems to be what people are at least thinking as the meta breaker for what we've seen lately on sort of webcam or even local events. Is that 4-color or 3-color mid range or tempo has kind of just been taking the format by storm lately, with a call perhaps being underpointed. But red black aggro is the natural predator of those decks, just swooping in directly under them and taking them down with a little bit of hand disruption here, but just a lot of burn, a lot of one-drop creatures.
Yeah, I mean, it's there to punish you if you ever miss a beat. Red, black, aggro will take the game from you. It's as simple as that. Looks like we're getting some players sitting down, so let's see if I can transfer us down into the table. Kablam. Alright, the table is there. I've got 2 players. I don't know who they are. I'm going to wait for my lovely assistant to pop in and tell me who they are.
Then we can start wildly theorizing what type of person they are.
Alright, I know who the one on the right is.
Uh-huh.
You can see a Gigantha the Wellspring there presented.
It seems to be in the companion zone, very eloquently put there with the commander zone token, which the companion zone token, which is not often used.
Yeah, very true. So, alright, Blind, you've seen a Gigantha the Wellspring presented. What do you think your opponent's on here?
I'm going to say 5-color Niv Mizzet,
Okay.
or 4-color Omnath that splashes black for... it doesn't even have to splash back at that point, right? If you're playing Gigantha, you can still play the 4-color version, but Omnath definitely a new beast of the format,
Sure.
replacing itself as it comes into the battlefield with a fetch coming in after it. It gives you all kind of value, including hurting your opponent and their planeswalkers, as well as you gaining life. So it's quite the beast, this Omnath deck. So I would be making that assumption, but we'll see.
All right. And on the left here, I've been told we have Beard.
Jade. No.
Yeah, I know who Beard is.
Okay.
We've got Niall Bowl on the left versus Gene
Excellent.
Holland on the right. Now, knowing that it's Gene Holland, does that tell you anything about what he could be playing?
Look, I might go out on a limb and say that he will be playing 4 or 5-color Legends, which is the deck that he has been playing quite a lot. It's the deck that he's comfortable with, and I presume it's the deck that he'll be playing. But as I said before, that 4-color Omnath is what people are trying to jam lately. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. But I know that Gene got a paper version of some of the Secret Lair Walking Dead cards as well, and he said that some of them actually worked pretty well for humans, for the human strategy or the legend strategy. So we might be able to see some Secret Lair cards today.
Yeah, the deck's some sort of hybrid between legends and humans. It's aggressive. It's 4 to 5 colors depending on the day, and with the Walking Dead having multiple legendary humans, some of them based around helping humans. You've got to imagine that at least one of them makes the cut.
Yes, I would dare say so. I know that the problem is that I think Rick is actually... I thought it was white.
I think Rick might be white. I think you're right.
White. Yeah. White. Rick, Steadfast Leader, so 2 white. So he definitely won't be playing this one, but it does say as long as you control 4 or more humans you control get +2/+2, as well as a plethora of other abilities. So might not be playing this one. I have seen him also play Negan the Cold-Blooded, 4/3 for 5 mana in Mardu colors.
It picks off 2 of your opponent's creatures, right?
Yeah. Enters the battlefield. You and target opponent may secretly choose a creature that player controls. then those choices are revealed, and that player sacrifices those creatures.
Yeah.
So a little bit of fun, just trying to hide some information from your opponent, which is also very fun. But we might actually.
You know what that card deals with?
What?
A big Hex Drinker.
That's true. We were talking about trying to get rid of a Hex Drinker, and we're looking at Neil's side. I saw a Death Rat Shaman, but that could mean literally any deck in the format of Highlander.
Very true.
Because there's a lot of options for that. We'll see what Neil comes up with. But we're seeing I think we might be on the realms of Legends. Gene leading us off with a Kytheon, which flips really, really good actually in sort of zoo-based strategies as well. Absolutely. But also it's good to have those cards that turn on your Mox Amber, which is a good reason to play Legends.
Yeah, Mox Amber definitely gets a slot in Gene's deck. He hasn't cut it since it came out, basically. We also see him leading off with a pointed land here, Caracas.
Yeah, Caracas being good, especially good in Gene's deck, because Caracas has his random ability of taking out your opponent's Tasiga, taking out your opponent's Kess. Like it kind of does a lot of removal by itself. But also in Gene's deck specifically, you can bounce your own creatures to prevent removal, and it tends to be pretty important.
Very true. We see Gene offering a trade here. Death Rat Shaman's pretty good. Is it better than Kytheon? Niall agrees that Death Rat Shaman is the better of the two cards and doesn't go for the block.
Yeah, it's. I think if you're trying to get a couple of trades here or there against the mono creature deck, can make things pretty difficult. And we see Gene following it up with a reason to not trade with this Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
Yeah, so Thalia, look, Death Rat Shaman being a mana dork, it's going to come in really handy against Thalia. Thalia taxing, of course, all the non-creature spells that Niall might be hiding in the background here. Things like that Renin 6. So that Renin 6 there, wouldn't have been castable if we had gone for the trade there. And at that point, I guess the Renin 6 might not survive, but it is a point. We can get that up on the screen as we've seen a point from both
Thalia as well, which I think would probably just be a huge problem for Neil in any sense.
Yeah, depending on the composition of Niall's deck. These what do we got here? We've got red, green, black, blue. We've got the full 4 colors. These decks can range anywhere from mono creatures through to non-creatures at all. It's just 4 good colors to be playing,
Yeah, and I see a Baleful Strix in his hand along with a flipped card that possibly is I would dare say a Jace. We're about to find out right now. Jace Fone's Prodigy entering the battlefield.
It looks like it.
Great card still doesn't tell you much about what what Neil is playing, but definitely a card with sorceries in it, maybe.
Jace tends to lend itself towards these decks that want to recur high-powered pointed cards, cards like Ancestral Recall and Time Walk. But even outside of that, it's just good on its own, being able to fix your hand and then have this sort of slow effect on the game where you get to rebuy a spell every few turns.
Yeah.
God forbid you start working towards the ultimate.
That's right. And not a problem, and not impossible either. Although against Graham, it could be against Gene, it could be a little bit harder because we are seeing our first opposition agent come into the battlefield at the end of Niall's turn, which means that it basically has haste.
Yeah, huge here. So 3/2, nice little hate card here. In short, it says if your opponent searches for a card, you get to do the search instead, and you get the card, and you can play it at a later date.
Really good with when your opponent's playing Goblin Recruiter. Really good when your opponent is playing even a fetch land means that you can exile a land from their deck and then play it.
Yeah, Fact or Fiction is another great one to get hit by this, and we see.
Gifts Ungiven, I think rather.
Sorry, that one. Yep.
Yeah.
So Gene following up with the Dark Confidant and Caracasing the Jace, just trying to slow things down a bit. And that looks like that might have been a Toxic Deluge.
Yeah, it does look like that, taking a bit of life for the privilege, but taking care of what was a pretty powerful group of creatures on Gene's side. So I'm sure he has no problem playing that Toxic Deluge.
Getting it while the Caracas is tapped as well, so Gene doesn't get to rebuy the Kytheon.
And it saved his Jace, which was really fantastic.
Exactly, kind of the optimal situation there, where his own legend was bounced with the opponent's Caracas, so the Caracas didn't get to save the day. This is a nice one here from
Gene not missing a beat with this Campbell console of allocation. Yeah. Well, we usually see in sideboards, but because Gene is he has a bunch of creatures, he's expecting his opponents not to have a bunch of creatures. Campbell's life drain ability whenever your opponent casts a non-creature spell, it might be an instant or sorcery.
Non-creature.
Excellent,
drains
excellent.
For 2. So
yeah, what a card! What a card!
It's just got this eternal impact on the game where, as long as that's in play, Niall really can't afford to play spells.
Yeah.
Granted, the Baleful Strix is stopping the Kumbal from getting in, but at 10 life, that's 5 non-creature spells and Niall's out of there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that coupled with the full pressure of what Jane will have now and then after that, like the barrage might not stop coming. But I mean, I say that, but with only 3 cards in Jane's hand, maybe the initial barrage has subsided and could be a good opportunity for Neil to move forward.
Well, the Dark Confidant was Jean's plan to recover here, but getting 3 for 1 from that Toxic Deluge, not where you want to be if you're sitting on Jean's side of the table. But the Kumbal, it really is just sort of death by 1,000 cuts between the Kumbal, the Thalia. There might be some other Hateberry sort of cards in the deck. Every single one of them just puts a little bit of pressure here and there. Oh, geez, I'm going to have to remember the name of that one. It's a red-black card, and it synergizes with sacrificing.
Yeah, it's new. It's kind of like there was a Dreadhorde. It's kind of a Dreadhorde Butcher. Deals a little bit of damage equal to the amount of counters it has on it, and then I believe if you sacrifice something, you get a counter put on it. So not necessarily a counter theme nor a sacrifice theme, but this Commander Legend is definitely on rate and will only get more powerful as time goes on.
Now, I do believe it's actually symmetrical. It grows whenever either player sacrifices. I think. Okay. I'm not certain. And it looks like he's not moving to put a counter on it, so I am being proven wrong. But it triggers and grows whenever you sacrifice any permanent. That includes fetch lands, of course.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. A lot of these sacrifice things turned right up to 10 because of fetch lands in general.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can dig up the card here. Frantically going on Gatherer, Jury Master of the Review. We've got it here. Red, black, 1/1. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, put a +1 counter on it. When it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to any target.
Yeah, so pretty close to Dreadhorde Butcher, getting a counter on it when I believe it makes combat damage, and deals damage when it dies as well. So it seems like a very powerful card on Jean's side.
Now, interesting interaction here. There is a Jace Friend's Prodigy in play that can reduce the power of Jury, and that does reduce the power of Jury's death ability as well. So when that ability triggers, it looks at its power when it was last seen on the battlefield. And if it dies with 0 as a 0/2, it's dealing 0 damage.
Yeah.
But the Jace going down, not going up.
There's not much we can do at this point. I mean, Jean's managed to really come back after this first Toxic Deluge, but the second one, you might not be so lucky.
That's exactly right. Yeah, 2 Toxic Deluges hard to go past. My only criticism here is that Baleful Strix isn't getting in for 1 on the way out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to have words with Niall here.
A penny saved is a penny earned, as they say. So
that's exactly it. How is he going to win without the combat damage,
Exactly right. So we will get, I believe, a little ping. We'll just might have to double check life totals. Did we take the 2 from Campbell? No, we must have, because Jean just gained 2 life.
Yeah, it's possible that Niall has updated his life pad and not the big silly die we have on stream to keep track of life totals. I'm sure that they'll have the correct life totals on their end. But I have him on at 7. I could be wrong. That's including some Kumbal and some Toxic Deluge. We'll have to see where that ends up.
Yes. While we're figuring that out, we can continue on with what we're looking at. It does seem like now we've seen a few more cards. Niall is playing a sort of it's just red and green and Grixis or Grubsis or red and Grix.
Yeah,
lots of different things we have
There's
for
a
it.
billion different names for it, absolutely. Him to Turak
And we saw Saskia, him to Torak taking out the Saskia, which would have been a good top deck if we had which would have been a good card if we had the land off the top. But we're still not out of the woods yet. With any sort of haste threat from Gene's side off the top might just be the end.
Even if Gene draws runner lands here, he's still in with a shot if he adds Gigantha to hand.
That's true.
So this turn
you're in this weird position now.
Add Gigantha go.
Gigantha, it could be, yeah.
You're not getting a huge ton from its ability, especially the fact that you already have 5 mana as you cast the card, but it's still a 5/5.
5/5. Honestly, 5/5 no text is fine. It's just nice to have a beta that was free in your hand and now can come onto the battlefield.
Yeah, very true. And we see Gene has gone to add it there.
Yeah. So we'll be in his hand. We see Chandra, Torture, Defiance, Assassin's Trophy, Counterspell, Preordain. And here's the Preordain coming down now.
So Chandra is a really big piece of pressure that could be applied here.
Yeah, he might. I mean, it depends on what the Preordain shows. He might find that it's better to hold up that Counterspell in anticipation for land off the top Gigantha.
Sure.
But it's hard not to take the time to just throw down that Chandra when you have an opportunity to.
Yeah, you've got to wonder what the punishment would be. Gigantha, sure, it's a 5/5, but you've got to assume that your hand can handle that anyway. You've got a Creeping Tar Pit as well, so
that's true.
Some amount of pressure coming on the backswing as well.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm's possibility that now Neil is up to 6 mana. He might just want to wait to play the Chandra and activate it and have the opportunity to play whatever card is on top.
Sure, yeah. So Gene did draw the land here. It's a fetch land, Bloodstained Mire. Immediately going to fetch, and there's nothing that this could be except Gigantha, really.
Yeah, exactly. So he won't be able to have the not that it matters anyway, because here comes the counterspell. But I mean, we saw the power of companions there, if only a little bit. It depends on, of course, if you're it depends on, of course, if you can meet the deck restriction without too much hindrance. And it seems that Gene was more than happy to take that hindrance if it meant that he was able to just have a card to cast when he needs one. And that can often come in handy when you are the aggressor.
So we see a sequence there. Gigantha got counterspelled, and Niall also going for the Assassin's Trophy, taking out Caracas, and Gene not coming up with a basic. He's got no cards in hand and no basic from the Assassin's Trophy. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but there might not be a basic in the deck.
I'm inclined to believe you on that one as well. Sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you are a 5-color deck that plays multiple 1-2 drops, and also when you're playing Saskia, that means that you have to have Pilgrim into Saskia, but that's all different colors of the rainbow that you have to be able to accommodate. So sometimes the basic is just not a luxury you can afford.
Absolutely true here. And you mentioned that Gigantha is worth it if you don't have to make too many cuts to your deck. I've spoken to Gene about playing Gigantha before, and he said that sometimes he does play Gigantha, sometimes he doesn't. There's roughly 3 or 4 cards that he needs to cut between the iterations. So if he's feeling comfortable without those cards on the day, then he'll play it, and if not, then he'll play without it. But not a huge difference between one and the other.
Yeah, looks like it. And here's Brazen. I think we have a Brazen Borrower off the top to petty theft the Judith at any point. So he's just probably going to go through the motions. He's going to tick up his Planeswalkers, maybe cast a spell for free with Kess, and go from there. But he is in a really commanding position right now.
Get that Preordain out from the graveyard, absolutely. Judith, it's just another small piece of tax. If you kill my creatures, you'll take some damage. If you cast non-creature spells, you'll take some damage. Maybe we'll see something like a Harsh Mentor, where if you do literally anything else in the game, you take some damage.
Yeah. Could be turned into an elk instead, by the looks of it.
Very possible here. Or alternatively, Oko could turn Kess into an elk. No, deciding to elk up the Judith the Scourge Diva.
Yeah. And I mean, it's It's a 2. I can't remember if it's a 3/3 maybe, Judith.
Judith is a 2/2 up front.
Okay, so we are getting a little bit of an update, but I mean a little bit of upgrade, but not when it comes to the flavor text aspect that you will miss out on.
As well as, Kess being a 3/4 on the other side,
makes that
your
hard.
opponent having a 3/3 or a 4/4, sorry, 3/3 or a 2/2, it's irrelevant, really.
Yeah, looks like it.
Gene's just in a bit of a bind here. There is cards in his deck that could get him out of this. They may not be in the main deck, but I have seen him cast some doozies. But alas, deciding to pack it up and go into game 2 here.
Yeah, pretty commanding corner turning from Neil there, where he had the sequence of plays where Gene was, I believe, empty-handed or had maybe just a Ganther in hand, and he was able to play the Chandra, tick it up for mana, play the Kess, and then suddenly he was empty-handed, but he had 3 threats on the battlefield, and Jane's 0.
That's exactly.
And I think that second Toxic Deluge was just maybe one too many.
Yeah, definitely. Gene, playing into 1 Toxic Deluge, it happens. There's not much you can do about it. The second one, it's just going to be backbreaking.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You can keep stuff back from the first one, but unless you specifically know that your opponent's going to get a second one, it's very difficult to play around.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely no doubt about that. Going into sideboards now. Gene keeping his decisions quite close to his chest. We do see an Urza's Ruinous Blast in the front. I don't believe he's going to bring it in, but this is a legendary sorcery from War of the Spark, one of the very few legendary sorceries in the actual game itself, but is a huge benefit for if you're playing Legends. One of even a great pull into Legends will be a one-sided Wrath that kills all non-legend, non-land permanents.
That's right. It exiles all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. There's another legendary sorcery that I have seen in and out of Gene's sideboard, which may make the cut today, being Jaya's Immolating Inferno.
Yes, the double fireball, or it's something.
It's a fireball of some sort. I don't know the exact text on it. Let's see if we can find it here.
It's big and it's juicy and it hurts. And there's no chance that Gene's not going to have it turned on at some point in his career.
Red X deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. It's a triple fireball. So if you're casting that for 3, if casting it for 3 is pretty good. Casting it for 4 or 5, you're not losing that game.
Oh yeah, when you can take out some of your opponent's creatures and send a bit of damage at your opponent's face, it's kind of like a fiery confluence, but again, one-sided, which makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Another card that I can't remember if I saw it in Gene's deck or somebody else's deck. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was called Fiery Justice. Is that?
Oh yeah.
The right card.
They gain 4 life and you deal 4 damage as you choose.
Yeah, 5 damage and 5 damage. Absolutely. Target opponent gains 5 life. You deal 5 damage divided, and it costs red, green, white. I think it was in this deck that I saw it.
I like that a lot.
No, actually, maybe it was in an Omnath deck. I have no idea.
I can tell you that I like cards that allow you to, if you're trying to stay empty-handed, say for a Castle Lochthwain, and cards are no longer good, just casting them, putting them into the graveyard is the same as discarding them. Fiery Justice is a really good card for that, because you can just deal 5 damage to their face, make them gain 5 life, and move on with your day.
On the other hand, you can see another red-black card that deals damage and costs life in some regard is Fire Covenant. I've seen this in some decks before. Yeah. 1 black-red, instant as additional cost, pay X life, deal X damage divided among creatures. So that could be another sweeper that we see out of Nile.
Yeah, great art as well.
Definitely. It's a really nice one-sided sweeper, especially if you have creatures. Being able to just clear out your opponent's board. Yeah, it's going to cost you life. But if you pay 4 or 5 life and clear your opponent's board and then get to attack with your Goyf or your Questing Beast or whatever's laying around.
Yeah. Huge swing. Good when you're also the aggressor as well. We see I was mentioning Red Black Aggro before that was like more than happy to just play a Flame Rift, which is 4 damage to each player for 2 mana.
Yep.
because you are almost certainly guaranteed to have more life total than your opponent only by virtue of you being so aggressive.
That's right.
And Fiery Covenant is similar for that.
If Flame Rift is a bad card for you in Black-Red, you've probably already lost.
Exactly.
Well, looks like both players have settled on their sideboarding, and they might be looking to go into drawing their opening hands soon.
Yeah. We'll see if there's any changes to our companions, although I can only assume that Gene has not done the spicy put a damnation in your sideboard for when you really need it, so looks like he's drawing a 7. He's revealed his companion again.
I mean, look, it is possible. You could envision a world where Gene swaps to Lutri.
Yes. I can tell you that I had the opportunity to play a Blood Moon in a Zerda deck, and I put it in the sideboard with the intention of, if I really, really, really needed a Blood Moon, I would have it on. Sure. I would have it available to me and just get rid of the Zerda.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a great way to play your Magic, but it is a way to play your Magic, that's for sure.
We see Once Upon a Time coming out here from Gene.
I'm actually pretty disgusted to say that I've seen a turn 0 Once Upon a Time more than I'd like to admit in Highlander, which is very surprising.
My favourite Once Upon a Time was one that I saw where a player went turn 1, Gataxian Probe, draw Once Upon a Time. That's not how the story starts.
No. It could be a slightly different position, but no, we like to have the Gataxian Probe. That's right.
And a Zergo Bell Striker coming down here on turn 1.
Striking some bells here on turn 2 as a 2/2 without haste, but just as a 2/2 for 1, always fantastic.
Absolutely. Now it can't block big creatures, but similar story to Flame Rift. If you're in the business of blocking big creatures with your 1-drop, the game's already lost for you.
Yeah, I think so too. Dark Confidant will get a 2 on tap here, which is very fortunate. We do see a Noble Hierarch, very pretty Noble Hierarch as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, yeah. And we see a turn 2 Deathrite Shaman out of Nile here. Not really where you want to be. Always good to have your Mana Dork, but having it on turn 2, just a lot worse than turn 1.
Yeah, no doubt.
Does give you the ability to play a 4-drop on turn 3.
That's true.
Which, there's a lot of influential 4-drops. Cards like Questing Beasts that can just come down and dominate a board here.
Yeah, I think I'm actually seeing a bunch of relevant 3-drops in actuality, including Oko and Colligan's command. So he might not use his Deathrite Shaman for much, but it does definitely give him that opportunity. I see a Liliana of the Last Hope as well, so he'll have no problem finding something to cast on turn 3.
And we see here Gene opting to offer the trade once again. Is your Deathrite Shaman worth more than my Dark Confidant? And Niall again saying, yes, I'll keep the Deathrite, thanks. And Gene saying, okay, you make your choices. Here is a Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah, and that Lavamancer not necessarily turned on just yet. But if Neil removes anything besides the Lavamancer, and the Dark Confidant is still there, getting a bunch of value for Gene, so he does need to do something. But anything that he does will quite likely put a card in Gene's graveyard. So we might see the end of the Deathrite Shaman, as you say.
I guess the counterpoint there would be that Deathrite Shaman could perhaps, if it's not used for mana, could perhaps eat some of the food from the Grim Lavamancer. Could eat the Once Upon a Time here. But I think this might be a key turn where if nothing it looks like something's happening, but if nothing happens, Niall's in a bad spot. That is an Anger of the Gods.
And dealing 3 damage to all creatures. A bad time for Gene to run out the rest of his hand, but I think once you're in that sort of position, you have to say that board wipes hurt. I understand that, but I really got to get a wriggle on and start closing this door.
Yeah, this is it's gonna need. Gene's gonna have to pull something out here to come back on this one. We see a Thalia's Lieutenant. It's a slow card. It's similar to Champion of the Parish, except it also does something when it comes into play as well.
Yeah, it puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature when each human when it comes into play, and also it gets a counter on itself when a human comes into play. So it will grow, and it's a good reason to stay in the sort of humans sub theme of this Legends deck.
definitely. Brainstorm out of Nile and a fetch land. The tried and true combination, born in Legacy, still sees horrible amounts of play here in Highlander. Just, increase the quality of your hand, shuffle away the bad stuff. And a Liliana, the last hope.
This is really tough for Gene. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to come back. I would be very impressed and surprised, but the fact that he is still on that 2 mana, playing out these 2 drops, Noble Aspirant, I believe, is that one. And it's something, but really he needs to find that 3rd land, and he needs to actually play some cards.
Yeah, that's right. Being in this position would be okay if he was sitting on 3 lands, 4 lands, being able to play out his hand. But he's holding 4 cards in hand and doesn't really have the ability to do anything with them.
Yeah.
And the Aspirant getting bounced there by Jace the Mind Sculptor. This Liliana just going to continue to tax any small threats. Jace going to tax any big threats. Really just putting the bind on him. Of course, the Luminarch Aspirant, a 1/1 written on the card, but if you move through your combat step, you get to grow any creature, including itself.
Yeah.
So,
which is really benefit when you're playing creatures in Highlander. You want it to affect the battlefield on the turn it comes into play.
Yes.
Because having to untap is quite difficult.
Very, very true. We saw Jace looking at the top card of Gene's deck, putting it on the bottom there. So I'll be curious to see what that card was. I'm also going to find out right now how much time is left in the round. We've played some pretty quick games, so it's possible we'll get the winner of this game in to chat about their deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And a quick game it might be, considering we do see 3 planeswalkers on Neil's side, and still only 2 lands on Gene's side. So this just might be something that we just can't help.
Important to note, 2 of the 3 planeswalkers on Niall's side are pointed. Jason Mind Sculptor and Oko, both 1-point cards. So, they're not free to play. That's right, that's right. So Gene did find the 3rd land. Is it good enough? Was it too little too late? The other card there on Niall's screen that we saw is a Baleful Strix. So even if, the Luminarch Aspirant is in play, it's got 0 power right now due to Liliana, and there is a Baleful Strix clogging up the ground as well.
Yeah, not a great place to be for our we can be heroes hero.
No legendary play as well. Thinking about whether an Urza's Ruinous Blast could come down, although that doesn't even deal with planeswalkers, does it?
No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it's good when you have planeswalkers.
And here you see as well that the 2020 loyalty on Oko. Even if there was a Jaya's Immolating Inferno or something like that, even if there was the ability to meaningfully affect the combat step, Gene's going to struggle to get any real damage dealt to that Oko.
Yeah. It's not a good place to be, that's for sure.
Niall just showing off the power here. Looks like a Direfleet Daredevil coming down, going for a Brainstorm out of his opponent's graveyard.
Trying to find that 4th land, see if we can cobble together a victory.
That's right.
In lieu of these creature-hating planeswalkers, noting that all of them have an answer for creatures.
Yeah, all 3 of them. I mean, Oko's answer to creatures there is probably the weakest of the 3. Important to note here, actually, Luminarch Aspirant putting in some preventative measures against Oko in growing the creatures. If Oko elks one of those creatures, they do still have +1 counters on them, so you're looking at 4/4s on the other side of the board instead of 3/3s.
Which is kind of scary.
Yeah, a little bit of trying to disincentivize elking the creatures.
Yes, exactly. And then, I mean, the interesting thing about Oko is that the life gain is actually sometimes more relevant than the elking. As you said before about the point about making the 3/3s is bad, but in these aggro mirrors as well, sometimes you just want to be gaining 3 life a turn, and you're happy to do that.
Absolutely. We see Jace using the 3rd of his 4 abilities this turn. That Jace has gone through the Unsummon, through the Fate Seal, and now into the Brainstorm.
I feel like, unfortunately, we might not have time to see the final loyalty ability in this game.
I will be impressed if we do. I remember yesterday I had these 6 loyalty dice that they fetched out for use on stream, and I thought maybe I need more because Oko is a card that exists. And we see here them moving for the 8th die.
Oof. Yeah, it's no small feat, huh? With
I mean,
Liliana might ultimate as well,
very
but
true. Look,
I found that sometimes not even going for that ultimate is preferential because you just start flashing back cards in your graveyard that you care about. I mean, or getting creatures back from your graveyard. He doesn't have very many options now, but just if he has his Baleful Strix murdered or his Jace, he can just save up those loyalty abilities or those loyalty dice on Liliana and just get them back immediately.
Yeah, the Liliana ultimate, very good against control decks. You know, it gives you an inevitability that just cannot be interacted with. But against these creature decks, you don't need the inevitability. You have the long game already. In the old Who's the Beatdown article, the longer the game goes, the further it swings towards Nile. Perhaps cashing in the Liliana for some zombies every turn. While it's not a bad play, don't get me wrong, but perhaps leaving it in play is the better option with the shrinking and the rebuying of creatures.
I mean, if your Liliana is protected and you have the opportunity to ultimate and also go to next turn and tick it up again, like we see that a lot with Liliana of the Veil players, where they'll go up to 7 so that they can tick down to 6 and then start ticking back up again.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a powerful effect, it's worth waiting a turn for.
Now, Gene didn't play the 4th land last turn, and that's got to sort of signify that he doesn't have it this turn nor the next turn. He did Brainstorm, so I'm not liking the odds of seeing a land out of Gene here.
Yeah, he brainstormed and not shuffled, if I'm not mistaken, so it could be a couple of turns before we see another land out of Gene.
We see a Colligan's Command here going to, it looks like, shatter the Baleful Strix and deal 2 damage to something, just trying to decide what the better target is. Between Jace,
it's going to be
Liliana, a lot of high priority cards on the board here. All that's certain is that we're shattering the Baleful Strix. Okay, going for the shatter of the Baleful Strix. And Nile firing off a lightning bolt to grow the graveyard, and then a drown in the lock as the counter spell.
My heart.
That's enough for me.
Yeah, I would scoop it up as well at that point. Your opponent shooting a bolt off just to fill up your graveyard so that they can down you, not a good feeling.
Yeah, very true there. So we'll pop back into the booth here. Let's do that. A swift 2-0 there to Nile. Maybe we'll see if we can get Nile in the booth. Get him to chat about his deck, maybe some card choices. I'd say chat about that game, although that second game specifically, not much to talk about. Thanks to everyone in the Discord for tuning in. The mid-round content, like the interviews with Nile here, won't be live on the Discord, but they will be part of the YouTube series later on. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hi YouTube, I made it. And, Angus, thanks for joining us.
My absolute pleasure, my friend.
And we'll see you in the next round.
See you then.